Week 16 of the fantasy baseball season, and he has a few pitchers I look to buy low and trade for this week. The first guy is Taijuan Walker of the New York Mets. So Walker an all-star this season, but the last 3 or 4 outings, he's been a total train wreck for fantasy owners in the Mets. And in my opinion, I think he's hitting the wall because he hasn't pitched this deep into a season in the last 3 or 4 seasons with Tommy John surgery and other injuries. So on the season for Walker, 94 and a third, 7-4 record, 75 hits, 36 earned runs, 9 homers, 36 walks, 90 strikeouts, still a 3.43 ERA and a 1.18 whip with 6 quality starts on the season. But the last couple weeks, he's been bombed in his last 2 outings, including one game he couldn't get out of the first inning, 4 1/3 in the time. 0-1 record, 12 hits, 11 earned runs, 3 homers, 6 walks, a K, 22.85 ERA, and a 4.15 whip. So right now, he's been getting hit hard, and I think fatigue's definitely an issue here for Taijuan Walker. And I think he was also pitching over his head, making the All-Star team, and having an ERA in the mid-2s. So right now, his numbers, in a way, is starting to pan out a little, but I still think he's a solid starter. This Met team, they need their pitchers to go deep into ball games, and they're still in first, so I think he could turn things around. And today is a good day to turn things around with a ball game versus the Braves in a couple hours here. So the last 3 outings for Walker: July 9th versus Pittsburgh, 5 innings, no decision, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks, a 3.60 ERA, 1.40 whip. July 18th at the Pirates, 1/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 135 ERA, and a 24 whip. And then July 24th versus former team, the Blue Jays, 4 innings, got the loss, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 homers, 2 walks, a K, a 13.5 ERA, and a 2.5 whip. So yes, the last 2 games have been a total mess here for Walker. High walk rate, not going deep into games, obviously, and getting hit hard, especially with the 3 home runs given up in his last outing. But today, if he gets bombed one more time versus the Braves, his value will be super low, and you might even see him on some waiver wires. Fantasy owners have dropped him in 10% of leagues over the last week, and he's still out there in 36%. But right now, if Walker pitches bad, I still think he could turn things around, so you can make a deal for him where you don't got to give up much. The next pitcher is Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins. So the Marlins, we've been seeing them trade off a couple parts here right before the deadline. And Alcantara, he's been a good pitcher for the most part throughout his career. This season, 125 2/3, 6-9 record, 107 hits, 46 earned runs, 12 homers, 38 walks, 110 Ks, a 3.29 ERA, a 1.15 whip, and 14 quality starts, which is up there amongst the league leaders this season. But the last couple weeks here for Alcantara, 9 innings, 1-1 record, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 homers, 4 walks, 8 Ks, a 6 ERA, a 1.56 whip, and a quality start. So Alcantara, we know he's on a Marlin team that's in last. We know they're selling off and rebuilding. But Alcantara here, he's still a pretty solid pitcher that could go out there and get solid numbers, go deep into games and get wins for your fantasy team. But right now, that just hasn't been the case with him recently. The last few outings, July 8th versus the Dodgers, 4 innings, got the loss, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, 5 Ks, a 6.75 ERA, a 2 whip. July 16th at Philly, 3 innings, got the loss, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks, a 9 ERA, a 2.33 whip. And July 27th at Baltimore, nice bounce back, 6 innings, got the win, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 homers, giving up a walk, 5 Ks, a 4.50 ERA, and a 1.17 whip with a quality start. So right here, he's had a little bit of a hiccup, Alcantara, and his value is definitely lower than what it was in June here now at the end of July. So right now, with him on a team rebuilding and selling at the deadline and in last place, and him not having the greatest of outings the last month here, it's definitely a time to go out there and make a deal for him, because I think he can help your team with many factors. With ERA, I think he could get better. His strikeouts, he was never a strikeout guy, but going deep into games and whip as well, and quality starts. And I think Alcantara, he'll bounce out of this slump and get better. The next pitcher is Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of the D-backs, we know this someone. We know they're one of the worst teams in the league as well. And Gowan hasn't got much run support or pitch well the last few outings. On the season, 50 and 2/3, 1-5 record, 45 hits, 27 earned runs, 7 homers given up, 26 walks, 61 strikeouts, a 4.80 ERA, a 1.40 WHIP, and 2 quality starts the last couple weeks here for Gowan. 9 2/3 got the loss. 9 hits, 8 earned runs, 2 homers, 5 walks, 12 Ks, a 7.45 ERA, and a 1.45 WHIP. So just like Tajon Walker, fantasy owners, they're getting fed up with Gowan, and they've dropped them in 5% of fantasy leagues this week. And Gowan, I think he's going to bounce back. I think he could pitch better. I know he's in a tough division with 3 monster teams in the Giants, obviously Padres and Dodgers, and he's on the worst team possibly in baseball here. So the last few outings, July 2nd versus San Francisco, 2 innings, got the loss, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, a homer, 3 walks, 3 Ks, 13.5 ERA, a 4 WHIP. July 17th versus the Cubs, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 Ks, a 1.59 ERA, and an 0.88 WHIP. And July 23rd at the Cubs, 4 innings, got the loss, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 homers, 3 walks, 5 Ks, 15.75 ERA, and a 2.25 WHIP. So right here, the numbers aren't great at all. But we know the upside of Gowan, and we know what he did last season here. And coming into the season, he was a 3rd or 4th pick in some fantasy drafts in those rounds. So right here, he's got potential. And he's also had an injury that kept him out for about a month and a half a few months ago here. So maybe he's not back to form. But I know Gowan's better than this. And right now, while his value's at a super low rate, this is a perfect time to go out there and make a deal for him. And you don't have to give up much at all, if anything, to get him. The next pitch is Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals for now. So the trade winds are really blowing here. That Scherzer could get traded any minute now to one of the West Coast teams, and he's got the 10-5 trade clause rights here, is Max Scherzer. So right here, we could see a deal today, tomorrow before the deadline, but we just know it's going down with the latest reports that it's going to happen. Jesse Doherty of the Washington Post saying he'll be traded at some point here Thursday. So the team's in the hunt here, which is scary to me. We got the Padres in the hunt, we got the Dodgers, we got the Giants, and we got the Angels. So Scherzer, his mindset on going to the West Coast, and hey, like I said, he's got the trade clause rights where he knows where he wants to land and has say where he wants to land. So on the season for Scherzer, 105 innings, 7-4 record, 68 hits, 33 earned runs, 17 homers, 25 walks. This guy's always atop of the league with strikeouts, 142 strikeouts, a 2.83 ERA, 0.89 WHIP, and 10 quality starts in the last couple weeks here for him. It hasn't been great though. 7 innings, no decision so far. 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 homers, 3 walks, 8 Ks, 5.14 ERA, and a 1 WHIP. So Scherzer, he hasn't pitched well really in the last 2 out of 3 ball games, giving up a decent amount of runs. But I think he's just fed up in Washington now, and he knows the time's come for him to move on. I know the Nats won the title 2 seasons ago, but Scherzer, he's going to want out of there, and he's going to go to the West Coast and try to win a title with one of those teams in the NL West here. We just got to see what the package is going to be and the big contract he's got, obviously, and who's going to pay the rest of it or half of it in a deal. But the last few outings, July 2nd versus the Dodgers, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, a homer, a walk, 8 Ks, a 1.50 ERA, 0.83 WHIP, and a quality start. July 8th at San Diego, 3 2/3, 5 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 homers, a walk, 7 Ks, a 17.18 ERA, 1.64 WHIP. And July 18th versus San Diego, again, 7 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 homers, 3 walks, 8 Ks, a 5.14 ERA, and a 1 WHIP. So the only thing here, we're buying him low because his value is definitely down, and he's going to get traded here probably to the NL West, like I mentioned. It's going to be a tougher division in teams he's going to verse, but obviously he's going to get more run support. He's going to be on a better team because the NL East, let's be honest, is probably the weakest division here in the National League this season, when you got the West where he's going to go, that's going to be stacked. But right now, Scherzer's not pitching as great, but I think he's going to be rejuvenated and refreshed here with a new team in contention. And right now, while his numbers aren't up to par to Scherzer levels over the last few weeks here, this is a definite time to buy him low and trade for him before he gets traded from the Nationals to a contender and he really goes off for the rest of the season. And the fifth and final pitcher I look to buy low and trade for is Alec Manoa of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Manoa here, we know he's a big right-handed top prospect for this Blue Jay team, and reports are coming out he's expected to start Saturday for this Jay team versus the Kansas City Royals. And we haven't seen Manoa since July 9th at Tampa Bay, so it's good to see him come back in a 3-week span. On the season for the young righty, 40 1/3, 2-1 record, 28 hits, 13 earned runs, 7 homers, 15 walks, 52 strikeouts, a 2.90 ERA, a 1.07 whip, and 4 quality starts. So right here, he's going to be back in action, and I don't think there's going to be any restrictions on him. This Toronto Blue Jay team, they're trying to contend as well, and we know they got one of the scariest lineups in all of Major League Baseball, and we'll see if the Blue Jays make a deal at the deadline. But right now, fantasy owners should go out there and try to get Manoa before it's too late and he comes back on Saturday and pitches a gem, and then his value's right back up to peak value. So this is the time to get him right before he starts on Saturday, like I mentioned, before it's too late and his value's high. So Manoa, one of the better prospects in all Major League Baseball. We saw the flashes, we saw the potential, and if you could get him on the cheap before he comes back, this is the definite time to do it. So that's a few pitches I look to buy low and trade for here in Week 16 of the fantasy baseball season.